You want to know what's powering these pistons? Quasi connectivity. This will be a quick video on what is quasi connectivity in Minecraft. Now, this does only apply to Java. Bedrock Edition does not have quasi connectivity, so this will not apply there. As you can see, there is no redstone around these pistons, yet they are staying extended. This was not done with commands or anything like that. I am in creative, but this is completely vanilla. Quasi connectivity is the ability to power a block underneath a powered block that would not normally be powered. And we've got an example here to show that. This is an explanation you'll see a lot of people give when they ask what is quasi-connectivity. I learned this one from Glotz. This is a great way to describe this. Basically, if a power source above can power a door, it can then power both blocks of that door, right? So if I turn that lever, that door opens. Both halves of the door are open. We can use that to think of it the same way. That's not how a door works, but that's our example. If we power the top of a door, the bottom also goes. In this example here, I hit that lever or I hit that lever, the door opens and closes. If I hit this lever, nothing happens. I'm going to put another piston there now, and we can see now that piston actually is powering. You know, power can't transfer through this block because it's not a solid block. This one is still getting powered through that quasi-connectivity, or QC as we're going to call it through the rest of the video. And that will work for this lever as well. So we can see that bottom one is getting powered even though there's nothing there that should be powering it. That's how QC works. It will transfer through the air to a below block or an adjacent below block as long as there is something to update it. Now, as far as when the QC is not going to actually occur, like we see here, that depends on blocks getting updated. This right here is your basic BUD or your block update detector. Now, this redstone block is QC powering this piston, but you can see it's not extended because it needs to get an update. So if we update one of the blocks next to it, then this piston gets updated. And in this case, when we update it, it's going to push the redstone block up. And then the redstone block is going to be too far away to be QCing it, so it's going to end up retracting and pulling back down. But then it doesn't repower because, once again, there hasn't been an update applied to this. Whereas if I place a redstone block on top of a piston directly, it already knows, because placing that redstone block causes a block update, so it updates its neighbors. It tells its neighbors, hey, see what your state is supposed to be. And since our piston is a direct neighbor, then it updates. In this case, it doesn't, because the redstone block is updating the slime block. The slime block is looking, it's like, yeah, no, I don't have a state to change. I'm good. And so the piston never gets updated. But once we put something, under or next to the piston, then it fires off. And that's why under this concrete block or next to this concrete block or under this concrete block, one of those two spaces, we need to put something there that's going to then update its neighbors, and this piston is going to look and say, oh, actually, I'm QC'd. I'm going to extend. So if I put another piston there, that piston is getting directly powered and then updating its neighbor, which is this block. And that's why we see it now getting extended. There are a few other blocks that also cause this kind of behavior, like note blocks, and that's a lot of times why you see note blocks above pistons. I mean, you could get really weird and do a bell. But that's going to get you kicked out of the playroom real quick. You can also run into situations with QC, especially with redstone dust, where now the pistons won't actually unpower. If you ever run into that, just replacing it with a note block there will help you out immensely. In this instance, this observer is powering this concrete block. This concrete block is soft powering this note block. And then we're going to quasi the piston from the hard power of this concrete block. Now, one of the disadvantages of this, let me show you this that I've also built. It's the same thing. You actually need to make sure that you're not accidentally QCing something you don't want QC'd. So maybe you were doing something where you had a signal line coming out this way, and so sometimes you say, wait, what's powering this piston? And it's the same thing that was working there before. So QC has its ups and downs. On the one hand, you get to QC. On the other hand, you're going to get QC'd. So just keep in mind this door trick. I think that's the best way to describe it when you're first getting into QC and understanding, is something going to get QC'd? You say, if it powers the door, is it, part of the door? Now, unfortunately, QC only goes down. It does not go up. So we can see the one on the bottom does QC, the one on the top does not. So you need to keep that in mind if you're thinking of powering the top half of a door. If you're doing it on the bottom half of a door, the analogy doesn't apply anymore. So yes, we're powering both parts of the door, but that's not going to QC a piston or a dropper. And one more thing to note, if you do take away that block that is providing that block update, and then you were to turn the power off, that piston is also going to stay extended. So it's going to need, yet again, another block update in order to retract. So I hope that helps you out, at least get a starting understanding of QC and how it works, and understanding when it's going to power something that you don't think should be powered, to see where that power source is coming from. And I'll catch you later. Have a good one. Bye.